I guess we're live, um, and I hope you guys can hear me. Um, hello. So, okay, I get that this is the very first presentation of today and also of the event. Hello, everybody. Um, and yeah, I wanted to welcome everybody to Code Week 2024, hosted by Kariera. So, I've seen the agenda, and I think that there are very interesting topics that you guys can see and enjoy for the following days. And I hope that at least for today, for this one, we're going to start with something a bit lighter. Although the title seems a bit technical, but we're mainly going to focus on strategy and how we take decisions when we build something from scratch, when we build software. So I think there are some very cool things that we've done over at Pandas. So let's get started. I think that, the very first slide, just an introduction. I'm Nasos Lamprokostopoulos. I'm Director of Software Engineering at Pandas. And I've been working in the industry for more than 12 years now. And lately I've been part of Pandas and the team. And today we're going to focus on that specific experience, but I'm saying that now because I've seen a lot all this time, and I think I know how to manage and build something from scratch and move fast where we need to move fast. So I've said Pandas. Let me also give you a quick introduction of what we do. So I know that this title is a bit I don't know, scary maybe. But basically, we're building the necessary infrastructure, the software, the tools, and everything around trading. So trading, in case you don't know, is the process where you go and you give your old device back in order to get a new one. So and we aim to build something that is UX friendly, and it's nice to watch and use, and also it's fast and accurate. And accuracy means a lot when we talk about trading. And I think like the thing that we do is that we offer both software and hardware solutions for trading, to provide trading infrastructure for big MNOs and retailers around the globe. And everything is built from scratch. And we are innovating the space, to be honest. We're leading the space, and we're building solutions to, we are still learning, and we're trying basically to evaluate devices the best way possible and provide a good user experience when you go and trade in your device. So you can see in this slide some of our products. So there is there is the web app, there is Flex. By the way, we're also doing hardware at Pandas, and we're very proud of it. And you can also see Pandas One, which is like the big platform that we have, from back office tools to online pricing catalogs, and start to finish. I think we've built more than 8-9 different software solutions to help retailers and MNOs provide the trading service. And what we need to do is to be able to evaluate the device properly, to understand what a device can do, what it can't do, whether there are defects or not. So technology really matters, but there's a lot of R&D behind the scenes. Lots of experiments that we need to do in order to understand, how to perform a test both accurately and fast. So that's a bit of what we do at Pandas. But I think that it is important to go back and understand, the start of the things, the start of the software that we've built, and the way that we've built it back in time. So everything started with a small team. back then, what we did basically was to create different applications, different software solutions in JavaScript and React, just JavaScript and React. And there were some good ideas, but everything was in different places, different applications with different structure, different I don't know, coding policies, I guess, and different environments and deployment techniques and things like that. Everything was built as an MVP back then. We were developing solutions that we wanted to deploy fast, see if they work or not, and then gather the feedback and understand what we need to do next. Now, there had been a time where we had, and we're still having, growing interest from around the globe. So we needed to do something that was both robust, but we also needed to do it fast. And every solution that we had needed a bit of refinement, both from product, mainly from product, but also from code. We needed to make everything white label. So to be able to white label a solution, you have to build it in a certain way. That's what I mean. And back then we didn't really have this kind of capability. There was and still is, to be honest, a very innovative hardware and very exciting hardware that we needed to make it work. And I'm talking about the Flex. You can see the unit on the left of your screen. And of course, when you're doing a deployment to a partner, no matter if the partner is big or small, you're gonna get some valuable feedback. And you need to use that, right? And iterate the product and iterate the solution that you're providing, and do it fast, to be honest. Otherwise, the solution might not work at all. And there's another one important point here, is that there was no dedicated infrastructure team, right? And you needed to do something that would work on a global scale, no matter where the partner is. And yeah, so that being said, we needed a plan, and the plan was very, very simple. We needed to focus on the product and have the ability to move fast and reuse the experience that we already had as a team. And what I mean is that, for example, we were writing React, right? So there was no question if we're going into React or Vue, for example, or Angular. We don't hate other frameworks, but we needed to go with what we knew, and we needed to do it properly, right? And build things by the way we knew how to build things. So very first decision of this plan was to decide the framework and where we're going to build the relevant user interfaces that we needed to build for several different projects. So we ended up using NextJS. I believe that anybody who's working on frontend for the last, 2-3 years maybe, know what NextJS is, and many big enterprises use NextJS. So it was, I think, we're still evaluating the decision, right? But at least to me, it seemed like a good bet, right? And the main reason is why. So here, what I have in this slide is the breakdown of this first step, right? Deciding what we're doing on the front end side. And here, what we have is Next.js and React as the foundation of our user interfaces. We use TypeScript everywhere. There is a consistent structure, as I'm saying here in the slide. You can have a consistent structure between different projects and similar folder structure for every single project that you have. There is solid routing in terms of I think this is an underrated feature of Next.js. I know that file-based routing is not like is controversial sometimes, but to us back then, we basically needed something that would be used across, and we can understand what it did. So yeah, solid routing and enterprise ready. Again, NextJS is being used from many different big players around the world. So that's also a reason why we've chosen that. Now, in terms of styling, we wanted to use Tailwind. I think this is also an important part of the equation. So we are lucky. We're very, very lucky to have a talented design team. And we had back then a very interesting design language. And what we did as a first step was to basically create a configuration for Tailwind and try to apply that to all the UIs that we were building back then. Tailwind is not really a framework; it's more of a utility first approach to CSS. And I know that again sometimes can be controversial, but I think that for our users it has been great so far. So shared configuration file between UI projects, the design language of pandas. An important feature here is that you can minify the code to what you really want. So eventually you end up with a smaller bundle, and there's a great community to support you along the way. That is also important, by the way, for both Next.js and React. Now, what's the easiest place to host a Next.js application? And I think that most of you know about Vercel, or if you don't, Vercel is basically backing the development of Next.js, and is actually a very, very good service, developer-focused service that can help you deploy Next.js efficiently. And yeah, some of the features that I've laid out here in the slide is that you get CI out of the box. So that's automated builds on pull requests that are it's just a benefit that you get out of the box without doing anything on GitHub. And you get image optimization for your assets. You get server-side support, server-side rendering. If you want to render something on the server for SEO reasons, for example, or for any other reason. To be honest, it's not just SEO. And yeah, it can also support multiple environments, which was a very, very big deal for us, because we wanted to have different staging and test environments. Where we could test our solution not only privately, but also give a demo, a beta environment to a partner. So that was the front end. Next question was, okay, what are we going to do regarding the backend services? So here again, we had several solutions in the background. We have done a lot of experiments, as I said in the beginning. So we basically needed to gather everything together and build something that would scale up as we grew as a team, right? So you will see a similar slide here, and this is by design. I basically even wanted to do a copy paste, but it was not very efficient. Again, I know that it's not very, very popular, but you can use Next.js as your backend. Basically, your API routes, the API routes that you write on Next.js under the folder API, everything, and if you add the handlers the specific way that Next.js needs based on their docs, everything is deployed then on Vercel as serverless function that you don't have to worry about when you're deploying the solution. You can even select the region that you're going to deploy your serverless function. If you go enterprise, you can also have multi-region deployments for serverless functions. And if someone doesn't know what serverless function does, but it spins up on every request, spins up an instance of Next.js, serves the requests, and then dies. So that way you can deploy, and you can be sure that you don't really have to put money on VMs and build special solutions to scale up with different ways. So it was a win to select Next.js and go with Vercel again. I know that for a fact right now that if we ever choose to go to something, build something a bit more complex, then we can take the core logic, the core business logic from Next.js and put it on a different API service, different API, different process, different VM, and scale up with very more traditional ways, let's say. Now, when it comes to database, we've chosen to go with Prisma. Prisma is another great tool. It offers an abstraction between you and your database engine, whatever you are using as a database. So whether that be MySQL or Postgres, for example, you can have your schema in your source code. You can have migrations out of the box. You have Prisma Client, which is like an ORM. It's not exactly an ORM, but it's very similar to a typical ORM. So you had API routes, right? You have your database, the way to connect your data to your database and query that. So you can build something that can serve requests very fast and easy. Now, regarding to Vercel, again, multiple environments, that's also very important, but also you get the other benefits of Vercel. So for example, we're using a lot Vercel's KV instances, which is like Redis, but on steroids. Vercel hosts that, and it provides the client libraries to be able to interact with it. And you can have caching, you can have a lot of things, things that you would use Redis for. So backend is done, except that you need to select how you're going to host your database, how you're going to scale your database. And for that reason, we've chosen to go with PlanetScale. Now, PlanetScale is a fairly new, I think, player, but it does help a lot when you build something from scratch and you want to forget about infrastructure and scaling. And we've chosen to go with PlanetScale. It has an incredible way of thinking with database branches, and you can read more about it on their documentation. But basically, you create changes onto your schema, then it generates the relevant migrations, and you can have a deploy request similar to a pull request or a merge request to your main schema. Has read replicas, load balancing, a very, very easy to use CLI tool, access control and roles, so you can restrict, different passwords and credentials for who sees what and why. So yeah, you get backups, for example, and restore points out of the box. That's also important. And you, again, on top of that, you get insights, you get PlanetScale Boost, which is also very important and very interesting engineering-wise. You should read about it. And you also get performance metrics for your queries. So there are a lot of features that they have on their platform, and I think that it's quite affordable for every single startup to use and start with. They even help you later on if you want to go to, for example, sharding and things like that. But it can't provide read replicas and some basic load balancing, right, for your database. So that's PlanetScale. I won't get into more detail about it, but essentially what I want to do is to give you like an overview of the different services that we're using for this solution. Now, you may ask, okay, now you have a backend on Next.js, you have serverless functions there, you have PlanetScale for your database and Prisma to interact with that. But what do you do for some very specific needs? And I'm going to explain what I mean. Here I have some few examples. It's not complete, but again, you can see the pattern here. We wanted authentication, authorization, role-based access, for example, and for that reason, we went with Auth0. It can provide everything. It's powered by Okta, by the way. Very cool service, very same pricing again. What do you do for asynchronous jobs and serverless? And you go with Upstas. That's our solution, at least for now. And you go with QStas, their product, which can make it really, really easy to just send a job, and they host their own workers, and they basically ping you back to complete the job asynchronously. So that was also really good. And in terms of logging and metrics, we went with Axiom. It can ingest pretty much anything. It is a new player. Now there are more traditional services like Datadog, for example, things like that. But we went with Axiom. Has, I think, a fair pricing for what you're using. And yeah, you can ingest logs and metrics and plot to different dashboards and have overview of things as you move along. So now I think that it doesn't really make sense to go deep into different services and how many services we're using, but it's more about the tactic and the strategy and the idea behind the decisions that we took back then when we were developing fast. And I think, at least for me, it makes the most important thing to a young startup is to focus on your product and be able to iterate on it and gather as much feedback as you can, and then you can basically start taking things and building them in-house, right? But at least when you start, you need to reduce complexity. We didn't have an infrastructure team, but you also need to be able to understand what service you're using, because in the future you're going to bring it in-house and develop it in-house. You need to avoid premature optimization. I think that's something that every engineer should have in mind. When you build something from scratch and you don't know how it will look, how it will perform, I think you need to focus first on a deliverable and then iterate again and again and again until you reach something that is stable enough, and optimize that later on. And what I'm saying here is that it is okay to rely on third-party services when you start. You don't have to build everything on your own. It makes much more sense to focus on the iterations and the feedback you're going to get from customers and clients, in our case, partners. So focus on your product offering. That's my I think that if there's something that you guys can keep from this presentation, is exactly that. There are services that we can use to move fast and then bring in-house later. Now, here I have a few things that we've gained during the process. Took us 7 months to transition to that new infrastructure, that new architecture that I described to you, and that, I think, again, it's more than 8 software solutions that we bring into the table, and right now we are now deciding what we're going to bring in house, based on the knowledge that we've gathered with all the experiments and the deployments that we've done. Customizations are now fast. By the way, we had time to build our very own tool, Pandas Configurator, and we're very proud of it, because it allows us now to go fast and build configurations and white label our products very, very fast, and provision configurations fast. Yes, that's by the way, AIT is my own term. There's nowhere to be found, I think. It's the average degradation time for Pandas and the partner. And by the way, if you're focusing on your product and you forget about complex stuff, you are also able to build more things on the background. So that would be, in our case, as an example, again, the brain, that is the software that bridges the hardware and the user interface that we have on the machine, for example, or train more and utilize more our own AI model for cosmetic evaluation and device evaluation. So, and not only that, but if you're using services, you are also able to have some great partnerships as you move along. And for example, we've already talked with Vercel, and we're thinking of going enterprise with them. that can unlock even more features, and for example, multi-region deployments and multi-regional serverless functions. And I don't really remember another feature, but I think there are a lot that can come to enterprise plan, and many other partners. You can see Balena Cloud, for example, helps us with our fleet management, and PlanetScale can help you. For example, if you want to build sharding, they can help you build it. So I think these are some benefits, but at the same time, I also understand and know that it's not, it's not that every time this is the best solution. Of course, by the way, I should state that I'm not saying that this is the only way to go forward, but I think it's one good way to move forward when you're young and small and you want to move fast and grow fast. And yes, there are problems with using services. You don't really want to go into vendor lock-in, and how do you do that? I think it's important every time you use a service to understand how much you go into that service and how much locked you are, so that you're able to go out and build something on your own and escape from using a service. Because I think that when user base goes up, for example, or traffic goes up, then the service might be not very cost effective, let's say. So you sometimes you need to know that. Otherwise, if you're using something blindly, you might end up in the vendor lock-in situation that I'm saying here. SLAs aren't fun. That's something that we've learned the hard way. You can't really provide a lot if you don't build your own infrastructure. So if that's important for you, then you need to do something else, I guess, or at least be able to understand if a service can provide something like that for you, whether that an SLA or, for example, a data privacy agreement, or a specific way that they handle failures on their system, things like that. And I think for every engineer, again, going all in with TypeScript, I've left that as as the last bit here. We all know there's a love-hate relationship, I think, with JavaScript and TypeScript and these. So yeah, I know that, but at the same time, I think that TypeScript, React, and Next, they can bring value if you start young. It can help a lot, given that we have a very, very big community and lots of articles, lots of tutorials, lots of courses, a lot of things, best practices, bad practices, things that you should avoid or not. And by the way, it can also help with hiring. That's also important. Has a very, very broad set of packages that you can install. So you guys all know that. I think TypeScript is a very good way to start building something, and then by the time you see where it goes and where you need to optimize and how you need to optimize, then you can shift over to change to something more robust, or build something with a different framework, for example. But we think that languages and frameworks are just tools. Concepts are more important, and I want to emphasize on that. Doesn't really mean anything if you write everything in TypeScript. If you're able to understand your product and the way that you build your code, and you follow a specific path or specific cases, and you cover specific cases, then basically you will end up understanding the concepts, and you're given the ability to go to a different language. So we don't really want to say that we're all TypeScript. We are now all TypeScript, but we might in the future change to something more fast or different anyway. So that's about it. I think that's the last slide, and thank you everybody for attending. We still have another minute, I think, or so. I'm seeing a question: what's the difference between TypeScript and vanilla JS? I think TypeScript basically brings you types and can help you have type safety on JavaScript. That's the main selling point for TypeScript. So it helps structure your code in a better way, has interfaces, types, things like that. So It's a very, very, I think, quick win for all JavaScript teams out there to transition to TypeScript. Might get a bit complex at the beginning, but I think eventually it brings value. What's next? I don't see anything else as a question. So PlanetScale is the service or financial. What's that? Why you need to learn React and other, so for me, it's not a matter of there's no I think good or bad. Every tool does its job. For our case, we already knew React, and that's why we've selected to go with NextJS. And again, build on a React framework. So should I transition from React Native to TypeScript? You should, yeah, it would bring value, I think. Check the Q&A section. I don't have a Q&A section. Why Vercel and not something DigitalOcean? That's a good question. I think you get much more out of the box when you go to Vercel in terms of deployments, monitoring. You can always have like high availability front ends. You get to deploy on the edge. So there are very interesting benefits when you go with Vercel. How do you manage to test the code? Moreover, when you're starting the development of your app, did you utilize any pre-commit hooks? We've tested pre-commit hooks very early on, but we later on removed them. We have a common structure on our code, and we have written some tests, but not all the code base is tested yet. Your opinion on Python backend? Python is great. It can scale, of course, but it requires a bit more time. There are not many automated tools like Vercel out there for that. Why not Node.js? Well, all the API routes that you build through NextJS are basically run with Node.js as a runtime. So it is Node.js behind the scenes, but that handles every API route in a serverless function. So yeah. What else? I can't see anything else, to be honest. Yeah. So I guess, thank you, everybody. Have a great code week. I think there are very, very interesting presentations coming along. I think that's a complex question that I don't really have the time to analyze, but you can ping me on LinkedIn if you want to discuss that. But yeah, not a very big team now. We're I think 10, 11 developers in total, but we're hiring for more. So yeah, we split the product to different teams. That's all I can say for now. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Have a great time. Bye.